In this video, we will reiterate and summarize what we have learned till now. We talked about mutable and immutable data. In the previous videos, we talked about tuple is an immutable object, and list, dictionary, and set are mutable objects. Now there are certain other immutable objects as well, which are the single data element types, which are highlighted in yellow. So integer, float, string, boolean, these are the single element type objects. These are also immutable, which means that you cannot change the information in the single element type objects. So in a nutshell, those objects which are of single element type and tuples are immutable objects, while list, dictionary, and set, those are mutable. So the ones which are highlighted in red, those are the objects which have more than one element, and the ones which are highlighted in yellow are those objects which are single element objects. Now let's take a look at this table, which is a summary of what we have learned till now. Here you can see the headers, classification of the object on the basis of number of elements. So we can classify the objects on the basis of number of elements into two categories. One is single data elements, another one is multiple data elements. Within single data elements, you have four different kind of objects. One is integer, floating point number, boolean, and string. Within multiple data elements, we talked about the objects can be of tuple, list, set, dictionary, and there's one more object which is panda series, pd.series. We will discuss that later. Now coming back to the single data elements, there's a column which talks about how do we create it. So there is no special way of creating single data elements. We just write the object name is equal to the element value. How do you create tuple? So you create tuple with the round brackets in the beginning and the end. How do you create list? With the square brackets in the beginning and the end. You create a set with curly brackets in the beginning or the end, or you can create it with a set function as well. And you can pass a list inside that, which would have square brackets inside that. Dictionary can be created with key and a value. So you would have a key and you would write a value next to it, and in between you would write colon sign. Panda series, we will hold on to it for now. Now let's talk about the data types. So integer, float, boolean, and string, as the name suggests, since these are only single data elements object, they would have the data type of the same type, integer, float, boolean, and string respectively. Now for tuple, list, and set, all of them can have multiple data types. So you can have some elements in integer, you can have some elements in floating point number, some elements in string, and some in boolean. In dictionary also, you can have multiple data elements. Now these kind of objects, tuple, list, set, dictionary, they can have the elements or the values. When we talk about dictionary, they can have the elements or values inside them, and they can be of different data types, which means that these are heterogeneous objects. These objects can have the elements of different data types. These are heterogeneous objects because the data type is not same. Now there are certain homogeneous objects which can contain data type of only one attribute. So it can have either character or string, you can say, or it can be numeric or boolean only. Now those homogeneous data type objects are panda series. Panda series is an example of homogeneous data type. So we'll be discussing about panda series in the upcoming videos. Now if we talk about the applicability section, so in applicability for single elements, there is no specific applicability of it. But the applicability of tuple, as we said earlier, tuples are faster. So in case you are processing a large volume of data and you would want it to be processed faster, use tuple. Make a tuple instead of making a list. What is the applicability of list? You can make changes in the list. That's the applicability. Whenever you want to make changes in your object, create a list. What is the applicability of set? We discussed it earlier. Wherever you have unique elements, either customer ID or product ID or employee ID, wherein two employees cannot have the same employee ID, go ahead and use set. When would you use dictionary? You would use dictionary when there is a website development going on, as we have given you an example. You would also use dictionary to create data frames, which we will understand later. And the applicability of pandas series, we will keep on hold. Once we will discuss the pandas as a package, we'll discuss about that in detail.